Man, thanks for sending this through. Excited to be working together here again. I got all your sort of follow-up questions that we could dive into here. So let's get after it. Lots for us to go through. So coming into turn one, the first note for me is we're just a little bit too close to this wall. I want to be just another, like just a half car width wider. So just a little bit more to your right-hand side, because I want to be out in parallel with sort of this exit curve on our right-hand side by about now. That's just going to open up our arc a little bit more as we drive it in up the hill into turn one. And it's really close. And your turn one, two is like pretty much there. This will just help you carry a little bit more up the hill, because you sort of see you turn in a little bit too tight. And then right about here, you have to open those hands and then you can turn again. So you end up in a pretty solid place, but just being a little bit off of that first curve, sort of off the wall, will let you get out wider a little bit earlier and have a more rounded arc, which should help you just bring more speed all the way up the hill here as well, right? Into turn two, pretty solid job. The only thing for me is our minimum speed is coming a little bit too late in turn two. So turn two is an exit speed corner, because the acceleration zone out of here, the acceleration zone to the break point turn three, is longer than the deceleration zone into it, right? Like our deceleration zone into turn two is roughly from here to about here, and then our acceleration zone should be here all the way down. So in an exit speed corner, we want our minimum speed coming just before the apex point. So I want my minimum speed in turn two right about now, and I want to be starting to unwind the steering wheel and start to accelerate sort of as I come over the crest of the hill here. Notice your minimum speed in turn two of 54 miles an hour comes after the apex, comes about here, right? So I just want to see us get the car slowed down just a little bit more in here, where you're at 57, maybe I'm at 54. So it's not a lower minimum speed, it's an earlier minimum speed, so 54 here. And then I'm starting to accelerate out, and then you're a little bit later to acceleration. I'm back to full throttle a little bit earlier than you as well, and that's going to carry me down to turn three, okay? So your question on turn three is a great one. We want to sacrifice speed and hold it left for 3A, but you actually overdo it a little bit. I don't want to be mid-road, but I also don't want to be perfectly on the white line. Anytime I'm perfectly on the white line, I know I've actually overslowed 3A. I want to be just about a tire width off the white line here, okay? And what that's going to let you do is it's going to let you turn in a little earlier into three and bring a little bit more speed up the hill in three. So I want to be turning in right at the end of this curve here, okay? So I want to be turning in there. That's going to let you roll in. So you're about a car length later, and that's going to let you come through apex at the same point, but you'll have more entry speed. The car's going to slide just a tire width or a little bit more than that to the right, and then you're going to turn into 3A from there, and then you're going to have more speed into 3A as well, okay? Now, I got your question about turn four. I think the sort of asking how long you trail brake into turn four is sort of thinking about trail braking in the wrong way. I never think about sort of, in this corner, this is how far I need to trail brake or how long I need to trail brake. I'm more of driving the car, and if I need more rotation, I'm going to try more trail braking. So trail braking is a means to an end of trying to get the car to rotate. So if you're just trail braking in the corner because you think about, I should just brake to this point in this corner, you're probably only going to really end up overslowing. So what I love, though, is you said, I've noticed when I trail brake, I tend to get more understeer. So what that tells me is that when you trail brake, you actually end up overloading the front left-hand tire, and it gives out. So that should mean, so if you've tried having understeer and you've tried trail braking longer or trail braking more pressure and the understeer gets worse, well, then let's try to go the other way with an earlier end of brake zone, right? But I can't tell you exactly where that should be, because that's a very set up car, like not even a car dependent thing. Weekend to weekend, it might change. Now, that being said, into turn four, I actually want to see us turn a little earlier and apex a little bit earlier, right? And that should help a little bit if it's corner entry understeer, because it's dropping downhill here and you're starting to turn in sort of after it's already gone downhill. So I want to apex more the start of this apex curve here. Now you're probably saying, well, Dion, if I apex earlier, aren't I going to get pushed wide earlier corner exit, right? But I want to see you get out wide a little earlier here. I want to be out in parallel with the exit curve now versus here. So notice back in, I always forget Garmin doesn't like the slow motion video. So notice when I pause it here, you've got some track available to you. So I want to be turning in more like sort of in this point right about here, and then heading down apex and the start of it right about here. I'm unwinding the steering wheel, getting back to throttle. And typically in most cars, it's kind of like a hard brake, release, 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 release. And I'm probably off the brakes in this range here in most cars. But again, very setup dependent. For right now, I think you're driving turn 5 great. I think it looks really, really solid. If anything, you could maybe lower the, like have a little bit less of a lift and use even more track, like use all of the track and then hustle the car. You can kind of get back here. This whole time, your hands are just straight. Where if you could lift less and the car takes you wider and you continue to turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right, you'll end up where you end up here. Okay, so turn 6. Always hate when I get conflicting advice. Sorry. Whoever told you to do this line is wrong. I'm going to say it's really simple as that, in my opinion. I don't like this line. I much prefer the sort of the double apex approach where I get the car sort of aimed down in here and I kind of get down in there. Let me tell you why I think that. One is there's a little bit more camber in the road right in here, right? There's a little bit more compression, a little bit more camber. When you get your front left in there, it helps grip up the car. The other thing here is what you'll see is when you go straight and then sort of turn a little bit later, you have a much bigger rotation point, a much sharper angle the car does at that point, which means the car has to be going slower, right? If you turn it a little earlier and slower, you haven't turned as much of an angle, which helps you bring in more speed. So for me, for all of those reasons, I want to get down to the grass. And then when I get coming down to the grass, I want to get my left front tire down to the grass. And then I want to have enough speed so as they come off the brakes and coast, the car slides just about a half car width off the inside, and then I end up where you end up here and then get the drive out. I think that's the much better line through turn 6. Into turn 7, I do want to I want to get close to the first apex curve here, typically. And I think the way that you're driving the entry of turn 7 is pretty damn solid. This looks pretty good to me here. You're out wide. I think where I'd like to see us make a change is in our exit reference point at turn 7. So let me show you, where do you get all the way out and wide in turn 7, right? So we get all the way out and wide in turn 7, right about here. Where I want to see you get all the way out and wide in turn 7 is more like here. I want your exit reference point being the back end of this curve right here, right? So as I kind of back this up, imagine that's where you're looking. That's where you want to place the car. If I play that forward, right here, again, right about here, if you're looking for the end of that curve, what are you going to be doing more of from this point to this point? Unwind the steering wheel, right? You're like, shit, why am I not unwinding the steering wheel? And if you could unwind the steering wheel more aggressively here, what can you do? You can get more aggressive down to throttle. And out of turn 2, it's all about unwinding the steering wheel, getting back to full throttle earlier. So I want to get out wider earlier. Okay, that's going to be the major note in turn 7. So right about here, once I get, boom, the car sort of positioned looking towards the second apex point, this is where I'm picking my eyes up to find that exit reference point back into the curve. And then here starting to accelerate, open those hands back to full throttle a little bit earlier and get the drive out of here. Okay. So turn 8, again, I can't tell you exactly how long to trail brake into turn 8. But what I can say is the style of brake zone here is I want you thinking about this being light and long in terms of brake pressure. It's a sweeper style corner, and I'm not trying to. I want to keep what we call the platform of the car a little bit more neutral. I mean, I don't want to shift as much weight to the front end and bleed off a lot of speed. So where you're coming in and you've got a threshold brake in here, I want to come in and have like a 4 out of 10 in terms of pressure, but then extend the brake zone a little bit more, right? So coming in, light, off, a little bit of throttle off, a little bit of throttle, get the drive out of here, right? And then I'll help you get a better run out of turn 9. Turn 10 for right now looks really, really good. I mean, you're at the absolute limit through here. You probably, if I'm nitpicking, slightly too quick on your hands in, and that's causing you to early apex here just a little bit. If I'm nitpicking, I'd like to see you apex maybe a little bit more out here, just another half car length to car length later. And I think that early apex is why you're getting pushed a little bit wide here and you're at the limit. So just try to have a little bit, it's not turning in later, it's just slowing down your turn-in rate, and that'll naturally help you turn apex a little bit later as well. And then in turn 11 for right now, I love the way that you're driving this. We'll maybe make some changes down the road a little bit, but this looks really good to me here. Boom, getting the drive out of here, shooting out like a cannon on the front straightaway. That looks good. I think there's plenty for us to focus on really in 1, 3, 4, 6, 7 exit, turn 8, and a little bit in turn 10. Let me know if you have any questions. Hope that makes sense. Let's keep getting after it, man. Great work.